Hello, I'm Cole Henrich,
I'm Javen Johnson.
and today I'll be interviewing him over AQR, Unit 1. So, Unit 1, analyzing numerical data. What did you learn?
We learned about statistical investigations. They are used every day for a variety of reasons. Research cycle graphic illustrates the process of planning and implementing a statistical investigation. First, a question sparks the interest of a researcher. The research team then decides on the best design for investigating a question.
Can you give me possibly an example of Unit 1?
Yes, of course. Radio rating services sometimes collect data on listenership by asking participants to record the data in time and station each time they listen to the radio. Other rating services distribute monitoring devices that automatically record this info anytime.
Okay, pause it. So Unit 2 in AQR is probability. Do you know anything about it?
Yes, in Unit 2, we learned about how to use Venn diagrams. I'm going to go over a question real quick to get a rundown. Miss Snow conducted a survey on her homeroom. She asked students what math course and what science course they were taking this semester. So we're going to analyze the Venn diagram right here. In Algebra 2, 14 students took it. In Chemistry, 5 students took it. 4 students took both Algebra 2 and Chemistry, and 6 took neither. There was a total of 29 students, and out of the 29 students, 23 students took either Algebra 2 or Chemistry. And if a student is selected at random from Miss Snow's homeroom, what is the probability that the student is taking Algebra 2 and Chemistry 2? It's 4 out of 29.
So I understand in Unit 3 you learned about statistical studies. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, in summary, statistical studies are observations or studies to gather information about subjects or research. Then you collect those data and apply those to important topics. An example of this would be in our AQR class. We conducted a research project within our own class about important topics that were important to us, and we used that information to see how we could help those topics.
So in Unit 4 you used recursion in models and decision making.
Yes, so in summary, recursion models and decision making, we're learning how to use growth functions, and both are very important to make students understand graphs in the real world.
Interesting.
And an example of this would be in the AQR class, we actually did a zombie infection. So each person in our class got infected with a zombie, and it went round and round and growing. And then we applied that to our graphs and see what would happen.
What did you learn about in Unit 5?
In Unit 5 we learned about using functions and models and decision making. So we created scatter plots of data and state which type of regression you should use. Some of these are linear regression, exponential regression, logistic regression, and sinusoidal regression. And some of these equations look like y equals a decimal plus a decimal. So you had to graph it, and then you had to decide which regression was the correct equation for this situation.
In Unit 6.
In Unit 6, we learned about decision making and finance. It's difficult to predict the future, but it's never too early to start planning for it. We use Texas Reality Check to see how much your living expenses will cost and the amount of money you will need to earn to pay for them. In this unit, we learned how much expenses you have as an independent adult and how much careers make annually in order to calculate how to pay for bills, luxury, and taxes. So what did you learn in the final unit?
We learned about networks and graphs. Circuits are used when students use graphs and the definitions of circuits and paths to study a situation, like the Königsberg Bridge problem to determine if certain conditions can be satisfied. The Euler circuit is a graph that starts and ends at the same vertex and uses every edge once. The Hamiltonian circuit is a graph that visits each vertex exactly once, except for the vertex that is both the start and end, which is visited twice. Map coloring is when students consider problems that can be resolved by coloring graphs. They create graphs from a description of a situation and then determine if the graph can be colored in a specific way using theorems and algorithms.
Here.
Hey,
QR.
do a QR, yeah, do a
QR.
QR.